Hello, welcome to this conversation between myself, Chris, and Hannah Chittenden at Zenith International, who is a global account director at a very young age. She's gone through early stages in her career quickly. I feel like the thread that ran through today's conversation has a little bit to do with that, because learning was, on reflection, a really key factor. Learning from a manager, for example, very early in her career around conversation, communication, developing and confidence to step into that space in front of her. Second, around from a generational perspective, learning from each other, not just from mentors and people that might have been doing it or in the industry longer, but also flipping that on its head and discussing the expectations we can have in crunch moments from a Gen Z perspective versus Gen Y, for example. There might be in older generations an inclination or tendency to work harder, work late. Gen Z seem to question that a little bit more, and perhaps there's something we can learn in a reverse to what we'd normally do when it comes to work-life balance. And then thirdly, just lastly, learning as an ongoing thing, growth mindset, pushing forward, and always being open to really learning from others, but also listening to others too. And one thing that Hannah picked up from her manager was around one-to-ones, and she's embedded that really well herself. And that space is now standard, 30-minute meetings each week. And whether it's mental health, performance, conversations around being overwhelmed, or actually just personal life stuff, there really seems to have been a strong connection formed that is having a massive impact on how people respond to being overwhelmed and lots of briefs coming in, and then putting in place a plan to get out of that crunch period. On the flip side, also just having really positive conversations about how to get to the next level. So for me, quite a few different avenues we went down, but learning and growth seemed to be a bit of a thread all the way through. So my hope is that you can watch the next few minutes and take away something yourself to apply into your own career. Hello, Hannah. Thank you so much for joining me. I wonder, to kick us off, if you could just share a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Of course, and thanks for having me. So I'm Hannah. I'm an associate director at Zenith International. I've been here for about 4 years now, working on planning and account teams. And also on the side for the last year, I've also been a part of the IAA Emerging Leaders Committee.
And we'll come on to that, I'm sure, because we've both been involved with that group and it is special. But to start off, I wanted to ask a little bit, Hannah, around your perspectives in the workplace. So you've accelerated through your career already very quickly, and I'm imagining have seen different sides of the coin when it comes to mental health and performance, whether it's managing people at an early age or seeing difficult briefs come in the space of a week. It sounds like you've just had a lot of them come in as we were just talking. So when it comes to mental health and performance, what is your perspective on the two, and how have you seen them link?
I mean, there's definitely a massive correlation. With any industry, as I'm sure in advertising, things get really busy and they also get really quiet. So, I mean, when you're really busy and you know you want to provide amazing campaigns for your clients, you also feel that yourself. And I think that comes along with being passionate about the industry and passionate about what you're doing, because we do really exciting, amazing industry first. You feel the campaign, you know you want to do well. So sometimes it's quite easy to take that on personally and get stressed quite easily as well.
Do you mind painting the picture a little bit further then? So lots of briefs, multiple clients at the same time, return on investment, performance and metrics ultimately is like going to be at the heart of all of that, I suppose. So even though you might not have a really tight deadline necessarily, you might be able to plan for it a little bit more. What kind of examples and stories come to mind when you're thinking about those moments of stress? And that could be from a personal perspective that you've experienced, or that you've been right in amongst it with the team as well.
Yeah, of course. I mean, a great example is, now when we've got probably 4 or 5 different briefs landing at the same time, it can seem overwhelming when they're just coming in. And same with kind of any busy period when it feels like your inbox and your to-do list is just filling up constantly. And you look at them all and you're like, wow, how am I going to cope? I feel stressed just looking at all of this that I need to do. But some advice that was actually given to me by one of my managers is take one thing at a time. look at one thing. How are we going to plan it? How is this going to fit in with everything we're doing? What's the priority? And just going through one by one and dissecting it. Because in reality, sometimes some of these briefs, it could take 5 minutes, some of them 5 weeks. It's just about reminding yourself it's one thing at a time. We'll get through it all. And there is flexibility. Like, not everything is hard set. It has to be done right now. So I think the best advice I was given was take it step by step, because I know that it's very overwhelming when your inbox is just filling up and the briefs are all coming in. And sometimes they're all as important as each other, but it's planning ahead. How can we split them out? Or even working as a team. Okay, we all might need to work on this, but let's have one project leader for each, and together we can get it done.
So I'm interested to pick that apart a little bit, almost before and after, I guess. So that it sounds like there's a really important moment where your manager shared this idea of breaking things down step by step, which we've probably heard before, but I guess when it's related to our own context in the right way, it can really make a difference. So I'm interested, I suppose, before you had that advice and before you were living and breathing that approach, and then after, and now being a kind of account director, you're obviously having to do that a lot more often. So when it came to your mental health or performance before the ability to break things down like that step by step, how were you operating? What kind of impact did it have on you?
I mean, huge, to be honest. It's like day and night in the difference between before I had this advice and afterwards. It's before I knew this, I would try and start everything and do one part of something, and then it would be someone else that needs to input. So I would do my bit, I would send it on, and then I would start another project, do my bit and send it on. And then it was just overwhelming because I had too many projects on the go and I was stressed, and I was like, how am I ever going to get all this done? How am I going to meet all the deadlines? And it also, what I didn't realize was me doing in that way, by sending it on to other people, I'm just adding to their stress. And likewise with other people, when they send it on to me, that's adding to me. So it's also about, I wasn't conscious of what I was adding to other people as well, which is a big thing. It's not contributing positively to anyone's stress levels or workload if we're just flying different parts of tasks to each other. So I think when I got that feedback of, okay, let's take it one step at a time, let's go through it, I was conscious of, okay, this is easier to handle. Like, I know that I can do this, I can break it down, but also I know where I can bring other people in the right way rather than just flying it off to them.
And then that's obviously had a big impact. So fast forward, I think you were promoted, weren't you, to global account manager within the space of a year?
Yeah, so I have had quite quick growth over the last 4 years. So I joined Zenith 4 years ago as a senior account exec, and within a year I was promoted to account manager, and then more recently in the last couple of months I've been promoted to associate director.
Massive congratulations, actually, because that's really, really incredibly quick, and it's got you some attention, and rightly so, in terms of like your profile in the industry. Relating it just one last time back to that piece of feedback in terms of breaking things down, how are you now taking it step by step, and then what knock-on effect are you seeing in your teams? Because now you're in a kind of director role and you've been a manager. You mentioned before about how it passed on stress to others. I'm wondering, now you've got a different approach, what's the positive impact that you're seeing?
Yeah, massively. I mean, I got this feedback when I was a manager, so it actually wasn't too long ago. And even then I had a team underneath me as well. It was stressing them out because as a kind of leader and a manager, when you're stressed, your team feels that stress and kind of takes that on as well. Whereas now, where I'm more calm and level-headed, when it feels like there's 1,000 things coming in, that also allows my team to feel comfortable and calm and know that we can manage it together. So I feel like it really does have a knock-on effect, especially as a manager. Like when you are stressed and you've got a lot of things going on, like staying calm helps the team stay calm as well.
What other things have you found work well in your management and now director level role when it comes to leadership? If we shift gears slightly into like how you're leading your teams to drive mental health and performance at the moment.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the ways is with anyone in my team, I have half an hour blocked out a week, and it can't be more, it can be less, but we have one dedicated session a week where it is completely open to talk about anything. It doesn't have to be a project related. It doesn't even have to be work related. But just 30 minutes of complete attention where we can just talk and go through everything. And I feel like that is a really good forum for if something's going on, if someone really needs to speak to me or raise a concern, like that, having that forum is a perfect place because they know like this is their session. Like it's on, I'm never going to come with an agenda. It's always going to be them with what they want to talk about. And I feel like that really helps because it's like, you don't have to come and find me. You don't have to set a time out of, I mean, we all have busy diaries, but it's that allocated time where no matter what, you can come and talk about whatever.
Is it always used? There's a few questions I have on that point, actually. One, that sounds really good. In practice, I can imagine it being difficult if you've just got 4 or 5 briefs come in. It's often one of the first things to go. So I'm interested in how concrete is that? And is it something that's flexible if someone maybe doesn't feel like they need to have a chat and they just want to crack on with their work?
Yeah. I mean, if it has been moved multiple times, but it's kind of their decision if they want to move it. Obviously, there's been times where things have got crazy, so we've had to reschedule it to a different time in the week. But no, it's always up to the team whether they want to cancel it and focus on other stuff or if we go ahead. Sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it overruns. It honestly just depends.
I appreciate you can't necessarily share fully and respecting confidentiality as well, but what kind of patterns and themes come up in those meetings? Because you're opening the floor to really anything with the no agenda, and it sounds like it's all about listening and really not expecting anything or driving anything, just hearing from them. So what kind of themes or examples come to mind when I just asked to dig into that a little bit more?
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, as you say, it is kind of a bit of everything, but I mean, anything from like, I'm feeling overwhelmed. How do we manage this? Or I've got this going on in my personal life. I feel like it's affecting my work. Like just personal updates, like maybe an engagement or a holiday or anything like that. So it is completely open. It goes through periods there's a lot of work happening at the moment. Like I'm overwhelmed. Can we get a plan together on how to manage it? It's also like having new team members. This is a great way to say like, okay, there's a task you briefed me on earlier this week. The way you briefed me is not really my typical style, or I didn't really understand it that well. So we can go through like ways that I can brief them better. So it's also feedback for me because everyone has different working styles as well. And I feel like as a manager, I need to adapt as well. So not only my style, but make sure it works for them too, because at the end of the day, if I give someone a brief and they have absolutely no idea what to do with it, or I haven't given them everything they need to be able to answer it, I need to know that so I can brief them better next time. And that also kind of links to the performance with them understanding my briefs and being able to do everything means they can produce higher quality work, which at the end of the day, we always want to be producing the best quality for our clients.
And probably in less time as well, because you're not having so many clarifying questions.
Yeah.
That's really powerful. Have the team shared any feedback on how those meetings have impacted or helped them? Because it sounds like a really good thing. And also the other thought that popped into my mind was that it sounds like they really feel comfortable sharing and opening up in these meetings, which is great. So I'd be curious to hear if you've got any feedback on the meetings themselves, not necessarily the content of the meeting, but how this one-to-one weekly option to catch up has actually shifted how they work.
I mean, not specifically, no, but I mean, I've managed a few people over the last couple of years, like moving around within the agency and being here for so long. And I would say like a couple of people that I've managed, I still speak to all the time. We're not on the same team together, but we've built friendships. And I mean, even people that have moved on, like I still speak to them, we'll meet up occasionally. So I feel like that alone is kind of a positive outtake, even that they have been working well. And I mean, hopefully it's a great team to be in.
Yeah. Connection. I mean, we talk about it a lot, and I guess the term psychological safety comes to mind, which often has connotations for different people, and it can sound a bit like jargon, but really what it kind of boils down to is, do I trust and can I have a candid conversation with someone if and when I need to? So I think that's definitely a positive. Talking of strong teams and connections, you're also on the Emerging Leaders Committee for the International Advertising Association and worked on the event PAC. So I wondered if you could just elaborate a little bit more on that, and then we can dive into what makes that team so special.
Yeah, of course. So on the Emerging Leaders Committee, we focus on the emerging leaders and rising stars of the industry. So kind of the more junior people within our industry and people who show they're really passionate about what they do and they want to excel and quickly. So we provide a few different events throughout the year. Some are focused on networking. So like our quiz night, and we recently just did the first social. And then also we have training and development side. So this would be PAC, where it's a 3-day residential course in Oxford, where we provide them with a brief and multiple sessions to help them answer the brief. And then they respond on day 3, and there's awards up for grabs. It's been going on for years now. I did it. And as soon as I finished my PAC, I was like, I need to be on this committee. It's great.
It is a special thing, isn't it? And thank you for kind of outlining for everyone like what that actually involves. What makes it so special in your eyes? Like why is there such a strong bond, and why does the team get so much done in such a short space of time with arguably, for what's achieved, like quite a small headcount? What do you think it is that makes it such a good team?
It's got to be the team. I mean, everyone who is a part of this committee, I just think they're absolutely amazing. We have a very similar mindset and we are really passionate about what we do. We care about the industry, and we just want to provide that space for everyone to come along, have a great time, network with people. And I also think it's hard because since COVID, there's less of that social where there's hybrid working. So, I mean, us as a committee, we do our best to make sure that especially the junior people have that forum and have that space to connect. They know where their like-minded people are in the industry and can also come to us for advice on how to do it. But no, the committee are they are everything. They are really great people.
Are there any examples or stories outside of what you've done at Zenith that have really stayed with you? It could be an example from one of the committee about how they led a team or how they ran a project at their agency or organization. Because I think given there's such a strong bond between everyone, I think everyone's very open with sharing, and it is like a really great environment to learn. So I don't know if you think about other people's stories and examples. Is there anything that you've really latched onto and thought, oh yeah, I really like that, I'm gonna try and do that myself?
Yeah, of course. I mean, everyone has very different roles in the committee as well, like in their day-to-day job. So we bounce ideas off each other as well. And I think like one example is I had a brief come in for a campaign. I think this was like a year ago now, and I just did not know how to answer it. Plain and simple, I didn't know what to do. So I just put in our WhatsApp chat, does anyone have any idea how to answer this? And quite a few of them came back with, here's what I would do, or here's a resource that would really help you with this. Here's a training course. So like, we're all very supportive of each other as well. And our expertise coming from different places is so useful. And I guess another example is actually when it comes to planning PAC this year, we are looking to kind of refresh one of the sessions in, let's say, strategy. And we've done it a certain way for a few years, but now I guess a couple of us have moved into more of a strategic role. So we kind of had a bit of a debate on how's the industry changing now, and how can our session, like, what do we actually need from the session to give to the new industry on how to answer strategic questions and how to answer a brief.
So keeping it fresh, it sounds like is a big part of it. And I love the simplicity of that WhatsApp message. Sometimes it's just like throw the question out there. And if you've got a trusted group who've got some expertise in different areas, like, it's really cool that you got something back. It's so simple, sure, isn't it? I know WhatsApp and comms and tech can be a difficult thing, but in this instance, it sounds like it was really helpful.
Yeah, it was. And I feel like sometimes there's people expect a lot of you in your day-to-day role. So sometimes you don't want to ask your immediate team for everything. So it's also amazing to have that support system who understand the industry and can help you. Because I mean, my friends from my personal life, they have no idea anything about media. I couldn't ask them a question. But
the interesting to try.
Yeah, it would.
You never know. Yeah. But no, so I think if we shift gears slightly, I'm interested to talk a little bit about Gen Z as well, because I think the interesting thing about what you just shared with the Emerging Leaders Committee and the committee at PAC and the IAA was it's a bit of a mix of ages, experiences, organizations that we work for. And I think that you've obviously accelerated quite quickly through the early stages of your career into a senior leadership position. And I imagine that also comes with some challenges. So different perspectives, leading colleagues who might even be older than you, for instance. And I'm interested, I suppose, if we could just break down the Gen Z, the Gen Y, the Gen X piece, because it's a hot topic. And I think on occasion it's for good reason, but I also think there's some value in seeing things from other perspectives. So on that topic, given your leadership position at a young age, is there any immediate things that come to mind around the challenges or perhaps opportunities that exist with regards to Gen Z?
Yeah, definitely. I think the main thing for me that I have personally felt a lot is, I mean, I'm very young. So everyone that I've ever managed has been older than me. And the first time I managed someone and they were also older than me is I have a feeling for myself, are they going to listen to me? Do they trust that I actually know what I'm doing? Because these people that I'm managing, they've been to uni, they've had other jobs, and I'm coming in like at least 3 or 4 years younger than them as their manager. So like having that perception myself of, does anyone actually trust what I'm saying? Like, this is a big industry. There's like big decisions to be made, especially like as a manager and a director, like you get asked important questions and have to make important decisions. And I'm like, I'm very young. Like, does anyone actually trust what I'm saying? So I guess that's a personal thing that I've felt a lot since I've become a manager, but it's also kind of trusting that I know what I'm doing. Like, I have worked really hard over the last 6 years of my career to get where I am. So like, I know that I know everything, but it's just my perception that, does anyone actually listen to me because of my age?
How do you shift that then? Because you've led campaigns worth tens of millions and you've made big decisions, and I'm interested how you've overcome those challenges, because it's perfectly understandable. And I think the media industry can be an intimidating place, and it's a big place as well. So how did you actually get over that obstacle when it comes to the belief that you can lead people who are older than you or make the big decisions?
I mean, if I'm honest, I'm still learning as I go. But no, I guess like reminding myself that I do know what I'm doing. Like I have worked with some amazing people at Publicis. Like I've had the great opportunities to work with people who have been doing this for years and years. And I guess like shadowing them and just reminding myself, okay, I know this, and thinking back, like when I have to make a decision, thinking back, oh, when I worked with this person, this is how they would handle it, and so on. So I'm kind of still learning, like maybe there's a better answer, but I just remind myself that I know what I'm doing. And I think back to how my leaders and how mentors and everything, how they would handle the situation. And I try my best to make a decision based on that. And I will admit, I don't always make the right decision. Sometimes I make the wrong one. But it's also all learning. So
I love that. I feel like it is showing the value of borrowing from other people as well. Like we don't all have the answers. We're all still learning. And you're picking up examples, whether it's from a mentor or a colleague who's like similar level to you, just good ideas and good things to do. So have you seen anything as a Gen Z, and I hate to categorize, but it helps simplify the conversation. Like as someone who falls into the category of Gen Z, have you made any observations around mental health and performance and how people might show up differently, whether it's expectations at work from Gen Z compared to Gen X or Y, whether it's purpose being a key driver in performance and needing to know, for example, like why something's being done. I'm just curious if we can break down that Gen Z, Gen Y perspective, or even Gen X if you've got one.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'll start off by saying I have an amazing team around me, and I guess looking at the team, what I have noticed is the older generations, and I'm not going to name generations, but when things get really busy and everything is happening all at once, they tend to be the ones to work 12-hour days and work into the night and never stop, never shut off. Whereas I think the difference with Gen Zs is there's a bit more openness to, okay, we've reached a limit, we're going to shut off and disconnect. And I think I would say that the older generations, they've become a lot more open to like hearing about, okay, like I'm overwhelmed, I need to stop here, and making a conscious effort. Like I know with a lot of like leadership doing that, they, over the last couple of years, they make it known to their team that they're not expecting them to also work 12-hour days and work late and everything. I know my manager, like that he makes a conscious effort to make sure I log off at a good time. And if there is something that's keeping me working so late, we talk about, okay, what can be done to make sure that I can log off. I think it's that acknowledgement and being open to having a conversation of, okay, we might work differently, but I don't expect you to work the same hours as me. Because I think previously there's like a notion that as long as your manager's online, you should be online. As long as your manager's in the office, you should be in the office. So I feel like it's a change there. And I mean, with my team in particular, a lot of us live outside of London. We seem to live all over the place and have really long commutes. So, and quite a few of the directors on the team as well, they live quite far away. So we tend to log off and leave the office at 5:30, and travel home. And I think that encourages the team. We're not staying till 10 p.m. in the office. Like we're shutting off our work day and kind of finishing there.
I mean, there's quite a lot in there. So with regards to shutting down at a reasonable time, that sounds really positive. And I think that even if it's driven by kind of a need to commute out, it's having a positive impact, isn't it? I feel like the really interesting bit right at the start was the observation you've made around the older generations working a bit late. If feels like there's a need to work late, the older generations might be more likely to just dive into it, but the Gen Z of younger generation will question it a little bit. And it almost struck me where you were talking before about learning from others when it comes to maybe a decision or WhatsApping the group for input on a brief you haven't seen before. It almost struck me that perhaps the older generations could learn from Gen Z in that regard. The idea that like kind of learn behaviors of dive into the work, stay late, bit of badge of honor. These are my words as opposed to yours, but these are conversations that you hear about, aren't they? And behaviors you hear about. So I wonder if there is something that younger generations can help the older generations with. And you mentioned open up conversation. I'd be interested, have you actually had any conversations as a group in terms of leaving the office on time, or what you're going to do in scenarios where there could be an urge to work really late, but you don't necessarily want to do it that way? You feel like there might be a more sustainable approach to managing the mental health and performance of the team in crunch periods.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, a couple of months ago, I guess I had my own conversation with my managers where there was a million projects on, as always. When don't I say that? But also we were in the process of hiring someone for our team. So I was doing the hiring, my day job, and kind of filling that role that needed to be filled. So I was constantly working late almost every night. And I still felt like I wasn't getting my to-do list down whatsoever. So I had that conversation with my manager, and I was like, it's not sustainable. Like, I am going to burn out. This isn't a productive way, because also when you are working all hours of the day, and if I'm writing a deck at 10 p.m. at night, it's not going to be the best quality. It's not going to be the best output. So like, I need some shift and some support to be able to get through this. And I mean, luckily, again, I keep saying it, I've got a really good team, and we put in place a solution, like bringing someone else in to help on this project, finding where like other people in the team that had more capacity could help out. And so stuff like that, like having those open conversations. And also I think it's a really good place because the older generation are a lot more receptive to those conversations, in my opinion.
How did the conversation go? I'm really interested to know how that kind of played out. Not in full, but you obviously voiced what was going on in your world. It doesn't sound like you did it immediately. It sounds like you were obviously working late for a little while, but how did that conversation play out once you'd mentioned it? And even to start off, how did you bring that about? Like, what were the words that you used in the first instance to kind of start voicing these feelings?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I also have a one-to-one with my manager, like I was talking about earlier. And I went to that one-to-one and I was like, I'm being totally honest, I'm overwhelmed. There's too much. So that was pretty much exactly what I said. Yeah.
And then what was the reaction?
I mean, he was very understanding. He knew that there was a lot on. And we pulled it apart project by project on where things could flex and where things couldn't flex. And it was quite a positive conversation.
What was the outcome afterwards, once in the weeks that followed? Because I'm imagining almost if you didn't have that conversation, there's almost a path and trajectory that would have happened, but you did. And it sounds like, I'm assuming it went a slightly different direction, but I'd be interested to hear what actually played out after that.
Yeah. So we actually got some support on a few projects, and we pushed back to different teams on things that could flex. And I was still working a little bit late in the coming weeks, but it wasn't as bad as it was before I said anything. So, I mean, there was definite improvement.
Great. If we shift gears slightly, Hannah, if we take an industry perspective, if we're to say that 5 is thriving, burnout doesn't exist, performance is high and sustainable, and people want to turn up to work, and then 1 is surviving. So burnout is high, stress levels are high, performance is poor, and retention is really, really low because people want to leave either quietly or vocalizing it in kind of exit interviews. Where would you say the industry is at the moment in your from your perspective?
That's a very good question. I would say it's quite high, maybe like 3.5 pushing 4. Like there's still room to grow. But in my opinion, whilst yes, there's a lot to do, it's busy all the time and you want to really do well. I feel like there is so much opportunity in the industry as a whole to really thrive. Like there's so many different directions you can go in. It's very open to, you've not got one role and you have to stick to that for the rest of your career. I feel like it's such a good industry because you can move around. You can learn so much and find the place and the route that you want to go that makes you happy. So I would say it's quite high in my opinion.
What direction is it going, do you think? Positive or?
I would like to say it's moving up.
Optimist. Last question for today, Hannah. If you can think of one, what would be one tool or book or resource or app or whatever it might be that you, from your own experience, would recommend when it comes to mental health and performance? What's one thing that you'd suggest someone else go and explore or check out if they were really looking to improve their own mental well-being or productivity?
I mean, I'm going to say this because it's my most recent read, but I actually just finished, a couple of weeks ago, finished The Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. And I have been using it at work quite a lot because it's so good because it goes into, you can't control what happens. You can only control your reaction. So I feel like that's something that I can put in place a lot. So if a meeting didn't go well because someone wasn't in a great mood, that's okay. I'm not going to let it affect the rest of my day. Like that's just kind of one example. Like there's so many different ways you can use it. That's my most recent read and I'm really loving it at the moment.
I'd recommend that too, actually. I'm halfway through, but I also saw Mel Robbins live on a Let Them tour last month. And
wow.
What you just said definitely resonates. So consider that a strong recommendation then. Thanks so much, Hannah. That was really, really insightful. Lots of specific stuff. And I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me.